This episode, I'm putting the hatches back on the little sailboat. What am I going to use to seal the hatches? Some marine sealant? Or should I be using butyl tape? Hi, I'm Joe, and welcome to MotorCity Boat Werks. Let's get to work. Welcome to the Boat Werks. This week is going to be very exciting because we're back on the Ep128 sailboat. We're going to be trying to get everything together to kind of finish this boat out over the next couple of weeks. I'm really excited. I wanted to get it done last summer, but there just wasn't enough time. We ended up having to put away the Ep128 for the winter. But now it's back out in the boatyard and I'm getting everything together. This episode's going to be all about putting the hatches and kind of reassembling the Ep128 sailboat.
If you've been watching this restoration project, you know that when I started, I had about a half a dozen things I wanted to do to this sailboat, but that list turned into more than a dozen items that I wanted to do to make this boat extra special. I've made my way through most of that list. There's just a handful of things left to do. Let me just kind of bring everyone up to date. I'm going to start by reassembling the hatches, the rudder, and the interior trim, putting it all back on the boat. I'm going to be installing a brand new rub rail on the hull of the boat. I have 2 winches that I want to install on the deck. I've also got some new chain plates. This will be an important upgrade. If I'm lucky, I'll have a little bit of time to put some paint on the non-skid to really make the deck stand out. Of course, I've got to inspect the rigging and the sails. This is a vital component to any sailboat. And lastly, if I have the time, I'm hoping that I can put in the basics, just a skeleton of a simple 12-volt system inside this tiny sailboat.
All right, we're putting together the final hatches on the Ep128. This is a very rewarding time because you kind of get to see everything come together. You get all the parts kind of get refit and everything like that. And this is the opportunity to kind of take care of all the hardware follies. What's a hardware folly? Hardware folly is where people put different things on their boat over the years and they use all different sorts of hardware. Some of it's stainless steel, some of it's not stainless steel, nothing matches. Some of it has, it's stripped out, some of the heads are buggered up, everything's kind of all a big hodgepodge of garbage. And you get to fix all that kind of chaos and get everything kind of the same with all new stainless steel hardware done proper the way that it's supposed to be, and that's what I'm doing right now.
This is kind of where I lay everything out and do my final polishing, make sure I have everything I need, because the next step is going to be marine sealant and getting everything attached to the boat.
I'm going to start by putting in this forward hatch here, if I can get myself in position. And first things we got to do is dry fit this thing. Take a look here. We got to get this into the right spot here, and we need to pre-drill our mounting holes here. This is the hatch that I refurbished, and this is the hatch base that was built into the boat now. So this all looks really good. We just need to, get some sealant on here and get this thing properly mounted. I think it really doesn't have much room to there. So what we'll do is I've talked about what marine sealants to use before when you're mounting deck hardware, hatches, what have you. Make sure to check out that episode. There's a lot of good information. Today I'm going to be using Loctite PL Marine. It's a substitute for 3M 4200. You can use it below the waterline, above the waterline. It's not a permanent bond. You can remove the hardware, the hatches later on. I'm going to be using that all around the edge here on this hatch, and in particular for the screw holes. Get a really good seal to make this hatch watertight. You will hear salty dogs tell you that you should use butyl tape, or there are some other things that you could be using as a sealant material. But I'm going to tell you, my experience is that for almost all of your deck fittings, hatch fittings, what have you, on your on your boat restoration project, you want to use some sort of a marine sealant, something like 3M4200 or PL Marine. Butyl tape has its place in boat restoration, but it's generally for items that are going to be frequently removed from the boat, and you want something that has relatively easy cleanup, something that's going to be unbolted. The holes that the butyl tape are going to fill, the bolt holes, the screw holes, those need to be fairly uniform. When you have damaged fiberglass, you have holes that are not quite proper, surfaces that are not, kind of clean, you would be smart to use some sort of a marine sealant that can be forced down, into the hole and get a really good seal. You're not going to be able to do that with the butyl tape as much as you would like.
I hear this sort of butyl tape argument all the time from well-meaning individuals on the various Facebook groups and online forums. Now, I'm not saying that butyl tape doesn't have its place in boat restoration. I'm just saying that 9 times out of 10, some good marine sealant is much better than butyl tape, especially for the do-it-yourself amateur. Butyl tape should not be used around portholes or any sort of port lights in your boat. Butyl tape should not be used around any sort of through-hull fittings above or below the waterline. In most cases, butyl tape is really only for something like, say, a hard top that's going to be removed frequently and the surfaces are very fair, the holes are very clean, and everything lines up perfectly. It can be very difficult to find actual butyl tape that is the real thing and not some kind of cheap knockoff that's going to deteriorate over time. For the amateur, the novice, what you want to do is use some good marine sealant. Don't fall for the butyl tape argument. Let's be honest, the real reason people are advocating that you use butyl tape is because they're afraid of the cleanup that is involved with marine sealant. It's really messy. But if you plan ahead, if you have everything kind of set up and you kind of learn the technique of applying and cleaning up marine sealant, it's really no big deal. The trick is to apply just enough sealant to do the job, no more, so you don't have it going everywhere. In this case, we just want to run a bead around the corner of the trim ring. We're going to make sure that it's going to ooze out and cover the screw holes. We want just enough to cover the trim ring where it meets the hull, but we don't want extra kind of going everywhere. This is one of those skills that you practice over time. You get better at it each time. Eventually, cleanup won't be an issue.
One thing that I tell people is when you're doing this is not the time to use the drill to drive these screws in. You want to do everything by hand because you don't want to strip it out, and you kind of want to snug everything up and watch it all come together. Kind of do it in a star pattern, just like you would tighten, your tire on your car. Not bad.
I say it every episode, MotorCity Boat Werks has no sponsors. I get compensated in no way for any of the products or the places, the people that I talk about on my channel. Please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and help spread the word. This channel would not be possible without your support. Thank you.
So I want to show you this one thing here. So before we get ready to put the cockpit hatches on, I've decided that I'm not so sure that I'm going to paint the non-skid here in the cockpit. I may leave it the way it is and just paint the floor. We haven't quite decided that. But in any case, I'll tape it off if we have to paint it. But what I want to do right here, I want to show you that I've gone ahead and this has been sealed with epoxy all around the edges here, the core ring to the deck. Take a look here. This has all been sealed all through here. So we don't have to worry about water getting into the core there. We just have to worry about the screw holes here. So here's a technique I want to show you. Here's the hatch. And what you want to do is lay a generous bead of sealant right here, inside here, right inside here. And what will happen is when the hatch is pushed down, it will squish out and fill this hole here. And you'll have sealant in each hole. You don't need to put two beads, one here and one on the outside. Just do a generous one on the inside. That's where you want it to go, like this. This will all squish out over into the holes there. and I was able to use one tube for the front hatch and these two back hatches here. So perfect. All right, take that. So what you want to do is, so when it squishes out like this and you got a good seal inside your screw holes here, take your flat-bladed junky screwdriver and you're going to clean this up. Boom, just like that. What we've got is some towels that are in acetone here, so they're constantly wet. And then we just clean this up here. All we're doing is getting up the sealant. There we go. Look at that. Nice, huh? Now I'm working on the main hatch for the Skipper 20. This is the main hatch right here. And this right here is the hinge that the previous owner kind of came up with. And it's not a bad idea. It's a piece of rubber with two pieces of aluminum that kind of hold the rubber in place. And the rubber acts as the hinge. It's a watertight hinge. This thing overlaps as a hatch, so it covers everything. It's watertight. And so we just have to remount it, which we're kind of modifying it and taking off the sharp edges just to clean this thing up. I think it's going to work okay. We're going to mount one side, then we'll go and mount it on the boat.
The original Skipper 20 companionway hatch was a notorious bifold or trifold design that leaked in any sort of rain or weather. It was just terrible. So having a nice solid one-piece hatch that kind of makes everything watertight is really pretty good. Now, this DIY hatch is a little heavy, and maybe it's not the way I would have designed it, but it kind of goes with my principles to try and reuse parts that come with the boat, keeps the cost down, and it's been working, so why change it? When you're doing one of these budget restorations, spend your time focusing on the big-ticket items. Don't sweat the small stuff. Just keep moving forward.
I think this spot right here would be excellent for a little solar panel, do some trickle charging, you know, to a small 12-volt system. I don't know whether I'll get to putting in the actual solar panel, but hopefully we'll get to put in the 12-volt system maybe in another episode.
If you're thinking about restoring a classic sailboat or an old trawler, check out all of the videos on my YouTube channel. Consider joining the workers or taking advantage of my boat restoration consulting services. I offer personal coaching for your boat restoration project. Be sure to like and subscribe. This channel would not be possible without your support. Thank you.
This is the hatch for the engine well. It goes on the aft part of the boat like this. And it goes basically like that. Okay, very cool. It drops down over a hatch that goes right here. So what we need to do is kind of figure out where that's going to be, and then we're also going to install, there's a little door aid here that goes, this is the door aid opening. It goes right inside here. But in order to get this to fit, we're going to have to zing off one side here. So, all right, we'll do that in a second. Oh, look at this. Wow. I love it. That looks great, man. Check it out. And the engine's going to go right inside there. Fantastic. That is sexy.
The last project is just a few pieces of trim that have to be reinstalled on the interior of the Skipper 20, kind of bring everything together. This is where I'm thinking about putting a small 12-volt electrical panel to replace this old rat's nest of wiring, kind of make everything look nice. It's taken many months to get to this point. All the cleaning and woodwork, painting, and all sorts of repairs that had to be done to this boat. Now you can see everything, see how it all comes together. We're very close to getting this sailboat restoration done.
All right, we're making some progress. In a future episode, I'll be covering how to install the rub rail on the Skipper 20 sailboat. If you're interested in all of the little projects that it takes to bring a little sailboat like this back to life, be sure to check out my playlist, step by step, how do you restore a small pocket sailboat. I think you're really gonna enjoy it. I hope to see you again. Thanks so much for stopping by. We'll see you next time. Stay motivated.